right, welcome to Be Your Own Advocate. My name is Isaiah. I'm joined here with my Aunt Isabel. We're here to help support you in different ways to advocate for yourself and others. And today's show, we're going to talk to Julie Gatti. I call her Jules. You may be able to too. She's fantastic. She's a clinical RN. She works at UCSF here in California. And she's been, I think, 20 or 30 years in nursing. I have to ask her, but a well-experienced nurse. She's the head nurse there, and she's created an amazing program called Code Care that helps people to access, we'll let her tell you, access different programs and serve the community more. I think she's working now with children with cancer, and that's her main focus. So I just want to bring her on because I think she's amazing, and she's an amazing human, someone who's really generous and caring and giving to others, but also has recognized the value of herself in the way that she's giving, and she's present, and she's really a supportive person. So I want to bring her on, and she's working in a very challenging world, in the medical world, at a high level with life and death and children. It's something I'd like to learn more about and be able to hear from her. So welcome, Jules.
Hello.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Jules. Please call me Jules. Absolutely.
Jules. Yeah, I told them they can call you Jules. Well, I just gave you a little interview, a little intro for you, but I don't know. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story. Anything you want to share about, just not like the details, but just like a little bit about your history as a nurse, how long you've been involved, what brought you into it, and then maybe talking about Code Care or currently what you're working with. It's really challenging, really beneficial. It's really everything you do is incredible. So I just want to hear about it.
Thank you. Okay, a little bit about my history. I was born in upstate New York, went to school on Long Island, and with my mother's help, found that my love for children was the direction I wanted to go for my career. And so I was thankfully in a medical university. And so I was able to find nursing, and nursing has been the love of my life. It's a place where I can be incredibly generous and really present with one-on-one interactions with humans of all sorts, which helps me learn about being a human on this earth myself, and also how important it is that we work as a community together in terms of learning about health and encouraging health in ourselves and each other, how important it is for us to be close to people who are not like us, to really understand that we're all the same. We all have the same desires and loves and needs, and that forcing ourselves apart by tribalism is the most unhealthy we possibly can be. And so I lived in New York City for 10 years and came to California to work as a nurse because of our nursing laws. We have a really important union that has protected nurses here. They help create nurse to patient ratios, which means that it is our California state law that we can only take care of a very specific small amount of patients, so that we have a lot more time as nurses to be at the bedside, really doing that hands-on emotional care that is so important in healing, especially in a place like the hospital, which is not a place for healing. It's isolating, being in a single room by yourself. It's staying up all night with alarms. It's lots and lots of medications, which are healing in ways and also harmful in ways. So being able to have an advocate at your bedside that is a nurse that really cares emotionally, is invested in your healing and your progression towards discharge, in creating a space where your family can come and stay with you and create that like loving tenderness that you need, has been my dream job. And so I've been a nurse for 26 years, 21 of them in California at UCSF. And I just changed to pediatric oncology, hematology oncology, which is so sad and also so rewarding. I love my job.
I love it. As you're talking, I realize that nurses are premier advocates. Like there's no, probably the most important advocate we can have is a really good nurse in so many situations in the hospital setting like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We can not only can we take care of the emotional and physical cares, we also have the ability to gather other healthcare workers that may not pass by in a room so frequently to focus in on the needs that we recognize because we're there all the time, whether it's they need a social worker or a physical therapist or a music therapist to come in and play guitar for half an hour, or the child life therapist that brings the dog in to sleep in the bed with the child. Like there's so many ways that the nurse can recognize and gather the important people. It's such
Mm,
a beautiful job. I feel honored to be a nurse.
great.
Yeah.
And it's also very challenging, right? I have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
nurses and doctors as clients, and I see the challenge currently. The system's really overwhelming people. Uh,
Mhm.
Seems to be blocking advocacy more than ever in some respects, just the way that it's functioning
Absolutely.
or dysfunctioning. But it's a big job. It's very challenging to hold what you hold,
Yeah.
and so important. So
Just
Yeah,
in the
you know,
past.
I think that, you know, nurses are incredible people, you know, and just, you know, wanting to be a nurse, you know, wanting to be a nurse, you have to have a great desire to help people, to go outside of yourself
Mhm.
and put other people first all the time. You know,
Yeah.
it's just an amazing quality that I think people have to be born with it. It's part of a physiology, of a chemistry that you're born to be like that. What kind of people are entering into the nursing field now? Like, what do you see? What
Well, lucky for us, in California specifically, our pay is really high, and so there are a lot of people who are changing careers into nursing to find that, career stability that is lacking right now everywhere. Everyone's losing their job. The career stability is so fluctuating. Currently, especially in the university hospital, we still have the ability to, create a pension for ourselves. We have really good medical benefits that can maintain, say, for instance, you have a husband who wants to chase his American dream and start a business, they can do that and still have their nursing wife that has the medical benefits and that stability that can maintain a household maybe through the fluctuations of a dream that may or may not come to fruition.
So it brings stability, and
Mhm.
then I guess a lot of the compassion comes because when you're working with different patients, you have to be compassionate. You have to, right? You
There
know,
isn't really a way for nurses to succeed and not have that deep compassion.
right.
Most people can't make it through nursing school. It is incredibly challenging,
Mhm,
really, really hard. So,
it
mhm.
probably becomes really hard uh, in terms of the relationship with families often the individual. Like I'm curious what your experience is when you're helping someone who's going through a massive amount of physical pain or a lot of emotional pain or financial struggle, and then the
mhm,
family are with you and there's all these this whole dynamic. It's much more than, the doctor kind of has it easy in a sense. I see, like they come
yeah,
in, they get their shot, they give their medicine, diagnosis or surgery, and then they're out. And
yeah,
the nurses, you're there to like fill in all that relational aspect and deal with all, like field all of that. Is that true?
yeah. Isaiah, you're so right about that. And some things that we talk about, especially in the program that I helped develop, we can talk about that later, is that nurses don't have an option to prepare themselves emotionally or prepare conversations when they're entering into someone's private healing space. Their room is currently their home, their bedroom, their kitchen, everything. And it's filled with anxiety, it's filled with fear, it's filled with lack of trust because of the institution, because of Google, because of how many intense um, things we have to choose to do that we can definitely make a lot of mistakes, and the mistakes build a lack of trust. And so a nurse, when you're doing that bedside care, you have to get in there right away and take care of everything. Doctors have lots of time to prepare conversations or even to decide, maybe I'll do that later and let a family de-escalate. Nurses have to get right in there during the height of escalation, when they're screaming and yelling, when there might be a person in there who is aggressive physically or verbally. When a patient is dying or in critical condition, we don't have the choice. We have to get in there and we have to gather our friends and get in there. So our de-escalation techniques have to be top notch.
Do you learn them, or are they instinctual? Or is it a combination?
We definitely have a lot of classes. I teach a couple classes that help with de-escalation. We have classes in nonviolence and communication, and it's never really enough. You definitely have to have the instinct of walking right into the tiger's mouth and feeling compassion and being patient and being ready to hear somebody through their loud, aggressive, physical and verbal escalations.
Yeah, how to not take that personally, right? And I think that I like it. As you're describing it, it feels to me like a spiritual practice. Because you're there, there's a crucible aspect. You're just getting pressed in all these different ways, and it makes sense that women are the nurses because you have greater capacity to feel and deal with that emotional energy and to deal with all that energy and care for it. In general, men they hit a wall emotionally, energetically, and then they're out the door. So interesting. We see nurses, I think, generally society as like a step down from doctors, but in reality, they are just, in my view, just as important. It'd be such a mess if we just had a bunch of doctors in the hospital walking around. Like,
Thank you for saying all those things that would not be appropriate for me to say, but I'm super grateful for you.
I'm just a whoever, right? So the coherence that you guys help maintain in that setting is really everything. I don't know. It's an intense environment. I don't like being in hospitals. I really am uncomfortable there.
There's a
now you're in pediatrics. That's the newest area that you're going into. Oncology, you said?
Yes. So, I was in pediatric solid organ transplant for 20 years, and I just switched to.
That was probably a mix of wonderful, spectacular miracles. I suppose everything has miracles in it. There are the miracles. You see a lot of miracles?
Well, in my opinion, it feels like a blessing, and the miracle is that that young soul has the energy to make it through all the intense healthcare that we do. But there is a lot of science. There's a lot of experts that put all of their passion into creating this health out of a person who in any other country would not live. They just would not live. No way.
Yeah. And you deal with babies all the way up to teens?
25.
What is pediatric and what'd you say?
25.
25. It's still okay.
Depending on how their practitioners follow them. If they're a child when they start their healthcare journey, then they stay with us to about 25.
Wow. Yeah.
It seems like it's really heartbreaking to be caring for children with cancer, especially some of the children that are really not going to make it or are really having a hard time. Like, how do you process it, and how do you take care of yourself amongst that dynamic?
I cry a lot, but also, sorry, we just had a patient who was 2 years old who passed. I just said as I was leaving the last shift, and so I do a lot of crying, but I also have this incredible human in my life. His name is Isaiah, who has really helped me find a way to release the trapped memories of these children who have been stuck inside of me that I take responsibility for my life. And Isaiah, you've helped me in so many ways to allow that energy to just flow out of me and find new ways to love myself and recognize the beauty in myself.
Wow, that's perfect. That's what we've been talking about all morning.
Yeah.
The other segments is just being able to release that.
Sorry. For someone who doesn't have an Isaiah in their pocket, what's something else that you think is really valuable that you could recommend another nurse to really hone in on to help deal with the trauma that that gets trapped in them?
They a lot of us have a close community of nursing friends that we do vacations with. Like, I have a group called Core 4 that we do a ski trip and a camping trip every year regardless, and dinners at least once a month. We're very different people, but we found that the 4 of us coming together in a private setting without our significant others, without friends outside of this group, we're able to really talk about and release all of the emotions that have come up throughout the challenging career, and then also find ways to communicate with and commune with nature and with energy, working out together, just really releasing in many ways. And all of the nurses that I know, whether they're athletic or not, have communities of nurses that they get together with and really just communicate about the hardships of our career. It's different than any other career, and you can't do it with anyone else besides nurses. You just
So you
can't.
have your own language, probably.
Yes, and very specific experiences. It's like how soldiers come back from war and no one can talk to them about them
Yeah.
seeing exploding bodies. You don't understand.
Yeah. You were mentioning before about a program code, a code on your
Co-chair, yeah. I have a couple nursing legacies that since I've worked at UCSF for so long. One of them was that during COVID, I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of the very high administration on an initiative that had come up. We'd had a couple incidences in the hospital where homeless families had been mistreated in a way by our healthcare workers because of the our nursing and hospital administration policies. So basically, one evening, a father and daughter were admitted, and they came in off the street, and he had a weapon on him that, when you live on the street, is necessary. You cannot feel safe sleeping on the street ever, but especially without something to keep you safe. And he had a daughter. And so our policy is to confiscate all weapons, and he did not feel safe giving it up. Understandably, he needed to go back out and see his makeshift home, and he couldn't give up the things that keep him safe. And so he had a really hard time giving it up. He felt like his emotions were rising. He understood how to control himself. He needed to go take a walk. Our nursing charge nurse at that time called our security, which she's supposed to, and told them that he had a weapon that she could not get off. And they met him in the lobby with UCPD who had guns, and it turned out terrible, awful. Nobody was hurt, but the amount of racism that was focused on this man because of his normal life was horrible. And so UCSF recognized that it was a horrible incident and started this whole initiative. It's beautiful. It's the first ever in all of California. And I had been strongly verbally advocating for go ahead, our
We
racism.
start back at UCSF.
Yep.
It broke up a bunch. Can we go back and start at like UCSF for
Oh yeah,
that concept one more time?
So sorry. UCSF is the first hospital in all of the US to create a program that is anti-racism, like assisting in financial instabilities and housing instabilities, and like all of the things that create poverty. UCSF has created a bunch of programs, including this one that they invited me into as a bedside nurse. And my role was to relay what it's like as a frontline healthcare worker for these families who come in and automatically have a lack of trust for an institution like UCSF, like healthcare. They have experienced, as people who have less money or are of the BIPOC community, institutional and social racism their entire life. And they arrive with an amount of escalation that is different from people like me, a white lady who has enough money. I don't feel that way. And I don't know how, I would never know what it feels like to be marginalized my entire life. And so my explanation is, this is what it's like for a frontline worker to interact with and try to care for a young child who is extremely unhealthy, who needs immediate care, and the family doesn't trust me, doesn't trust the hospital, doesn't trust the doctors. How do we bridge this gap and help them feel at least comfortable enough for us to take care of the needs of their child. It is really, really touchy. And what we decided was that we needed a liaison, someone from the BIPOC community that can come to the room and have unlimited amount of time to listen, because that's the most important part. These people have a lot to say, and they need someone that they feel they can trust will listen to every single thing that they need to say. And so UCSF created Code Care. It's a liaison who is Black. He's a Black man. He's wonderful. And for me, it's not enough. They also connected us with Glide Church. Glide Church is a church in the Tenderloin that provides free meals to anyone who lives, anyone, any single person ever, and also really cares for their homeless population in the Tenderloin. They have created schools where you can go and get your higher education. They have locked areas for all of your belongings. They have locked areas for you to sleep. They have locked and security guarded bathrooms. They have a harm reduction program, which hopefully everyone knows about. And Glide Church has created a program. It started with the police officers in San Francisco, where you take 3 days off of your work and you go spend some time at Glide Church feeding the people that their community, and then you also walk off on your own, sit down next to someone who lives on the street and listen to their story.
Wow.
For hours.
That's
And
amazing. What a great program.
Beautiful. And then they have social workers who teach you all about you talk through all your emotions from the day. You talk through your emotions about the harm reduction program, because it's very, very difficult for a lot of people. You talk through your emotions around homelessness and around the BIPOC community. And it has really helped the San Francisco police officers. And so they brought all of a ton of the frontline healthcare workers in to do almost the exact same program. We call it Healers at the Gate. And it has been life-changing, transformative for a lot of healthcare workers to understand why the escalation happens for a family who doesn't trust. They have every reason to not trust us.
Yeah.
And
Wow, you are in the thick of it, doing amazing things. You're so good and such a blessing to everybody that you work with and people that cross your paths. What a great, I could cry.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I feel like running out and finding a program that I can participate in so that I can do more as well, because it's such a such a sad state
It
of
is.
for so many human beings and
It is.
children. Yeah.
The soup kitchens all have space for us to spend time. And I think that although our money is the most important, putting our money into real programs that can help,
Mhm.
being able to come into contact with humans who have lived a different life than us is so important for you and for everyone around you that you come into contact with. Whether you talk directly about your experiences or whether you just are that shining star that has been changed by the experience, it's so important to spend time with people who have lived a different life than you.
Absolutely. And the only way you're going to do that is if you go out into those situations with an open heart and with
Mhm.
information and care and the ability to to listen, right?
Yeah.
And that changes, you know, I mean, we were talking a lot about energy and, the energy of compassion, of care, of extra effort. All of those things are like so important because they're light, like light energy that you put out into the world. And the more like light that we put out into the world, the hopefully the more things that'll change. I would say light expands, but darkness can't expand. It can proliferate, but it can't expand. And that's why light always works. And somebody like you, even your face has beautiful light around it. There's beauty. There's beauty in her face because, you look at her and you feel all those things. And that's a great, your reflection to me is making my heart swell. So it's fantastic. So bless you.
I appreciate if you don't mind me commenting on, I get really emotional about this because I feel like I'm a totally different person from the day that I met Isaiah, and something that I've learned through being cared for by this man is that I'm the first person. I love makeup, I love fashion, I love looking good, and what I learned is that the power inside of me um, to shine out and gather people to learn from me is not about the makeup. It's about the peace inside of me that I feel. It's about the love of myself that I feel. And it takes a lot of work to get to that peace and to that love for myself. And that is the true beauty. That is what attracts people. That's what makes
That's
people around you feel safe and desire to be near you. And it just like you were saying, like showing up to work with the face of makeup and the fancy clothes, it is important, but that's not the key. The
no.
key is to feel self-love.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
what
that's the reflection that then magnifies and manifests and multiplies and, touches like you just touched me. And, I'm an easy, I mean, like I just felt everything that you were saying. And that's such a great thing because it makes, if every individual could feel that way and approach people that way,
yeah.
then what a wonderful world, right? So,
Yeah.
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 That's
Feeling like separate is such a hard thing. We feel like we're separate somehow, and it's easy to maintain that in certain situations and contexts.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
this one,
And I
this
say it is a wonderful treasure, and it's so nice. I'm here in New Jersey, so I've only gotten a little sampling here and there, but I could just tell from that like how he's able to look into a person's body and help unlock things that are trapped and help them infuse new things into it. So it's nice that you're with him. So that's great. Wow, Julie,
well,
Jules, you are a jewel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's great. That's great. Very, very beautifully well said and heart touching, heartwarming, heartfelt. There you go.
Thank you.
So
I think I want to finish with one more question, which is just on a question of reflection of like, as I experience you and other doctors and nurses and get the inside track of their story and their experience.
Mhm.
It feels like a lot of what I hear is what you're talking about right there. Like the last point of homeless people coming in because they need to get warm, they need to get cared for, they need attention,
Mhm.
psychotic. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of really unhinged people that end up in the hospital setting because they have nowhere else to go.
That's true.
And it's not a lot of us on the outside that aren't part of the hospital setting and whatever, we don't know that that's what's going on. We just think it's, I imagine something different. But then when I talk to them, it's like, you're dealing with the most unserved people in the city you're in. And they're the ones that are in need, and you end up dealing with them on a lot of levels. Some of it's
yes.
not, and not easy and not comfortable.
Yes.
Mm.
It's
So I don't know.
so,
It's not a
yeah,
question.
it's true. I think what we're experiencing after all 26 years of nursing is that we're recognizing that we talk about it all the time. The financial gap is growing and growing. There's so many more people who are living in a space where they cannot afford healthcare. They cannot afford a car to get them to their appointments. They cannot afford their lighting, and they have food insecurity or they have shelter insecurity. And then of course there's the other side of people who have plenty of money. They can go see their doctors. So they are by just way of having more money, they're healthier. Of course, they can afford appropriate food and nourishment for themselves, and they can get a full night's rest because they have a safe place to do it in. So we are seeing more and more unhealthy people coming into the hospital simply because of their financial state. And now with this new administration, with the federal cutbacks to states, that the states are cutting back on everything. A lot of it is the cutbacks to healthcare. We are losing our ability to fund healthcare for everyone across the United States. And it has trickled to California and UCSF devastatingly. And I'm sure UCSF wants to cry about it. We had to cut back on a ton of programs that are beautiful, including one. Okay, so my girlfriend was hired to work in a wellness clinic for teenagers who have lifelong illness. And it's a teen clinic to just help them learn how to become the adult that they want to become. Whether she's a yoga instructor and a Buddhist, so whether they want to learn how to lose weight, become sexual, start taking their medications on their own without their mother's help, having more independence from their mother. The whole, it's a beautiful clinic that they opened up specifically to care for young souls. They had to close the whole thing down because of cutbacks. And then we lost a ton of our upper nursing staff, nurse practitioners specifically, that have big roles in caring for all of our patients. All got cut back because of federal funding. It's devastating, and it's across the board everywhere. So
Yeah.
It's tricky because I understand from the conservative perspective, they don't want to pay for trans education in Somalia. Like, that's just not part of their budget. I understand that. But what about the homeless people and the drug abuse and the sexual abuse that underlies their addictions and their issues, and the effect on society in our hospitals and you and our care people and our advocates in the world are really being impacted in a distractive and negative way based on that aspect that's undealt with in society. And like, how are we going to address that and put funds towards supporting families who need healthcare and need access, and for people like that who are really destitute.
Yeah, we should be able to replicate you, like 10,000 views, and it would go a long way. But I really want to thank you so much for being on the show today, and I'd love to have more conversations with you, just because you're so passionate and you stir emotions, which is really a great gift. So thank you so much for that.
thank you.
Did you want to say anything further, Isaiah?
No, thank you for coming on Be Your Own Advocate, Jules. We really appreciate meeting you. I hope we can have you on again someday.
Yeah.
And you've impacted
time I come out there, I got to meet you in person.
Yeah, let's have a dinner. You can come to one of my goddess gatherings. I have women's gatherings for women our age that is just supportive of ladies.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. I'll definitely do that. So thank you so much for, being such an amazing representative of what an advocate can be. It's a choice. And so I just want to say that, to remember always to be your own advocate.